Hi, my name is Jeff, and I'm recovering from engaging in global destruction. I spent 5 years in the Amazon apprenticing with an indigenous shaman. It was incredibly powerful. And he was just transforming everything, things I grew up with that were painful, other things, and then we moved to what's happening on the planet, on the earth. And these processes, they could open up my body so that I could feel the pain of the earth. And at times I was on the ground just shaking. There's so much pain I could barely even feel it. I find myself not breathing right now thinking about it. And so also with this time with him, I was living with a family, and they were living on the edge of town. It was an indigenous family, and they were the happiest people I had ever met. They laughed, they played, the kids did, and they didn't have any screens, they didn't have any telephones. And it was a very beautiful life. And we'd go down to the river and play. And so during this time, as I was being healed by the plants and by the jungle and by the shaman, and I'm incredibly fortunate for that, and they began showing me what's happening on the earth, it wasn't out there. I had a psychotherapy practice before going to the jungle, and I worked a lot with people. One of theirs I specialized in was trauma. I also worked a lot with people in recovery. And there's dozens of recovery programs, 12-step programs for all kinds of compulsions, and millions of people have recovered. But as I was learning these processes of destruction happening on the earth, they were clear, and I was guided by what they would call the spirit of the plants. I'd heard an internal voice inside my head that wasn't my own, showing me that this problem was not separate from me. That as a person from the United States, I was at the core of this. There was nobody out there. I was to look for nobody else who was doing this and to take full accountability. Now, as I hear myself talk, I'm like, oh, men shouldn't cry, and I shouldn't let myself have emotions. And as they say in a recovery meeting, I mean, that's the disease talking, that's the addiction talking. I can be on a planet that's humans, myself included, some humans, not all, dying to human life, and if I have emotions, I feel funny about it. But so it was painful to see fully what was happening, and then to also know I'm at the heart of it. I'm using the plastics. I'm using the gas from fracking. I can look no further. And they, again, over and over again, take full responsibility. They'd ask me, are you willing to take full responsibility? And I would see these trees larger than I'm tall going down the Amazon. And also why I was there. And I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be here talking about it. I don't want to be sharing this in front of people. Anyway. And I do. You know. So when I was there, 3 of the children in the extended family, in this indigenous family I was living with, died. And I watched how it changed the family. And I can't say for sure why, but the river there is high in mercury. It's higher, 20 times higher than would be allowed in Brazil. Mercury is usually from the logging and mining. So it's from the wood I've used, it's from the materials for my cell phone and electronics. Again, I'm at the core of this in a certain sense, the global me. I'm not talking for anybody else. Anybody else connects with it, that's good. So I'm back in the States after that, and I'm still using plastics. And I'm still using gas from fracking. And I see all this, and I think to myself, I'm insane. I'm insane. And it's just like an alcoholic with just the liver extended, late stage alcoholism. Oh, just one more drink. Totally, it's like having a parasite, just out of their minds. The addiction is just running the show. No, nothing left. Somebody at that late stage, and here I am using gas, using plastics. I've just watched the children I love die. I've watched the family that was so joyful. Then, the mom's binge eating food. Later on, they got a big screen TV. She's yelling at the kids they never used to yell. Because it's painful to have these children die, obviously. And I'm participating in that. And then I come back and I'm doing the same stuff. So I saw I'm insane. I'm just like a late-stage person with alcoholism. So I started working the steps around it. Program Global Destroyers Anonymous. It's on Facebook, Facebook.com/Global Destroyers Anonymous. Like any other 12-step program, nobody's making any money off it. Nobody's trying to gain personal thing. The idea is to be on a healthy planet and to not engage in global destruction a day at a time. So I'm working the steps. I'm doing these. The processes in the Amazon were called dietas. We'd work with master teaching plants. I could go into a hut alone in the jungle for a month or 2 months and get downloaded with this clarity and start to detox trauma. And part of that also was, as I was living through this, the plants brought me back to what it was like to be young and to watch a nature special and to be like, wow, look at all that. And then to hear at the end, well, these animals are extinct now, or this area is gone, or there's only an acre left. And the horror, as a child, the horror is just, no, that's not possible. That's not possible. And then becoming numb to it, where I could not handle the pain. Just shut it down, whatever, that's how it goes. Turn on something fun, not watch the nature specials. And they would work me through this till I could feel it fully. And now I feel like I'm somebody who came from another planet. And I see it and I just can't believe the insanity. But so I started working the steps around it and getting clarity around what's happening and have tools now to start to work with it. But so one of the tools, so in any of these programs, one might be for not debting and spending a day at a time. Another might be for not under-earning. And yes, that can be an addiction. And people can heal from it with 12-step, not compulsive working. And almost anybody in these programs, a lot of people would say, it's not me, it's my boss, it's the economy, it's the situation. Same way the alcoholic might say, it's my girlfriend, it's my job, it's a situation you don't understand. You know, you drink too if you were in my shoes. But so I saw my own rationalizations and denial around my global destruction. And so part of the tools for this is somebody, and say who's recovering from debting and spending, they look at, okay, what's my income? What are my expenses? How much is my debt? And so part of this is looking at what is the state of the earth. What has my role been in that? And these kids in the Amazon, I love them so much. We had so much fun. I couldn't speak Spanish. I had nobody to talk to. I didn't speak Indigenous. And so I played with the kids and we laughed and we sang. And so I have this conversation where I see them 50 years now and they couldn't say my name. They'd say Jake. They'd say, Jake, you know, we can't find food and water. They say, but we know you didn't know this was going to happen. And what do I say? No, I pretty much knew it. I was really clear it was going to happen. And they'd say, you know, but we know you did everything you could. Nah, not really. I tried to get more money and hunker down because I know I'm in the 6th largest extinction the world has ever seen, human caused. That's pretty much what I did. And I can't have that conversation, like, in any plane, you know? I mean, if it could take place. But so anyway, so I'm doing whatever I possibly can. I also feel the repercussions for my actions now. Again, and in trauma, somebody might grow up in a violent alcoholic household. And they can sit there and talk about it like they're talking about the 6 o'clock news. Oh, this happened and that happened, because they're totally dissociated from their body. They're disconnected from their body, from their emotions. And that's how I was. And I thought I was pretty knowledgeable. The environment was important to me. But I was totally dissociated from all of it. So no, I'm not. And I'm standing here feeling a lot of emotions around it. So for years I've been working on this. It's a summary of the state of the earth. I'll go over part of it, and it doesn't look good. And so the oceans. By 2025, there's expected to be 1 pound of plastics for every 3 pounds of fish. Everything I've been looking at is like National Geographic, Stanford papers. It's the clearest statistics and information I can find. By 2050, it's projected to be 1 pound of plastics for every 1 pound of fish. 1 pound of plastics for every 1 pound of fish in the oceans. And I'm trying to do this without numbing out. I'm trying to stay in my feet, stay in my breath, stay in my pelvis, stay in my body, stay connected to emotions. If anybody's watching this, I invite you to do the same, because it's super easy to want to tune it out, shut it out, numb it out with the latest technology. So by 2050, the oceans, every major fishery, every major commercial fishery is expected to be collapsed. Again, a Stanford paper. Stanford team of scientists. By collapse, they mean less than 10%. The cod and the Atlantic have already collapsed. It's not coming back, depending on who you see. The ecosystem has changed. Other fish have come in. And it used to be teeming with cod and a thriving ecosystem. Now the trawlers come in, and the trawlers, they use sonar trawlers. They gut everything, including sea turtles or tuna. They can just scoop it up, kill whatever's left, take out whatever. And so anyway, so it's gutting the oceans, basically. Okay. So plastics never biodegrade. They never, ever biodegrade. Every plastic that's ever been made is still here and will continue to be here. It's not a good idea, right? When they talk about recycling, most of those are one-time recycling. This is another paper by a scientific community that 91% of the plastics have never been recycled. 91% of the plastics have never been recycled. That's recyclable plastics. So they're shipped over to China, they're shipped to other places. And they don't break down. They turn into microplastics. These plastics, a lot of them have many toxic materials. It can cause cancer, cause destruction to reproductive systems. I'm numbing out, so I'm going to make sure I'm staying in my body. I don't want to just be in a head-mind trauma place. So they make their way back into the food chain via food and water. So the average person, probably in industrialized areas, is eating about 5 grams a week of plastics, about the size of a credit card. Okay, again, the whole point of this is to stay in my body and to not numb out. Connect with the trees, connect with the earth. Okay. Extinction of species. I just want to be able to go someplace where I'm not here, you know? Like where this isn't happening. So 96% of the biomass on the earth is human and domesticated animals. 96% of the biomass on the earth is human and domesticated animals. So it's difficult to say what percent of the species are dead. The earth is a large, complex system. How we define species can vary. It's bad. It's horrifyingly bad. It's really bad. I lived in an area that was 10 hours by boat outside of a city in the Amazon, and already the tortoises are endangered. Some of the fish have gone extinct. The macaws have been going extinct in places, or just smaller and smaller areas, smaller refuges. So it's bad. We know it's bad. We're talking about not just losing species now. I don't know the exact term, but when you go up in biology, the class or the phylum, like not just losing frogs, but amphibians. So in these dietas, I experienced the jungle as a sentient being. I'm an old-growth forest, and it's a web of life. It's teeming with life and intelligence. Absolutely teeming with life and intelligence. And they taught me most of what's important to me. They cleared the insanity. And for any reason, to see the web of life destroyed is painful, but to have it, it's a part of me, it's an essence. They reclaimed my sanity, that I'm a child of the jungle, I'm a child of the earth. I came back once from the Amazon, and I'm in a city, and I felt sick, and I didn't know what was going on, and it happened so fast I couldn't even track it. And I'm just like, I need to eat something. I need to eat sugar, candy, which I'm not doing because it's not good for me. I need to watch some movie, some violent superheroes movie. I need to numb out somehow. And I'm going to do it. That was what I was thinking. Checked in, was able to stop. Okay, what's going on? Just feel my heart close. It's barren of life. As a species, and not everybody, but I don't know how else to frame it. We can wipe out miles of life. There's concrete, so where I was, there's concrete, there's the same tree every block. There's a small patch of grass here and there. There's no animals, maybe a squirrel or a pigeon. And it hurt, and it burns inside. I mean, it burns, and my insides were burning. It was empty, sickening, deadening feeling, like it's deadening. Like just being around corpses, it's just like dead. And what I discovered was that I derive so much pleasure from being in forests around animals, the sights, the sounds, the smells. Even now, look out, it's rich, it's connected, it's alive. It's breathing in the air, in my body, connected in relationship with life. And when I'm in a place that's dead, I feel the deadness and sickness. And they taught me over and over again, I can't pretend this is a separate being. In the jungle, I am one being, not separate. It's part of this fabric of life. In a emptied out, destroyed ecosystem, I'm another being. It's empty and dead and painful for me. And I began calling it eco-death syndrome. I was judging myself. Why am I depressed? Why am I despondent? Why am I apathetic and listless? I've got eco-death syndrome. I'm a part of a species where we've exterminated life. That's why it doesn't feel good. Because it's disturbing. Sorry, I don't mean to get sarcastic. Okay, so Extinctions. National Geographic predicts that 3/4 of the species will be gone. This is National Geographic. They have phenomenal researchers. Predicts that 3/4 of the species are predicted to be gone in 3 generations. I feel like I've almost come from the past, from the future, just like if I could talk to myself, Jeff, 3/4 of the species are going to be gone. It's not a joke. It's horrifying. And so to eradicate the web of life, the eco-death syndrome, it's disturbing, And how do I participate in that? How many children am I having? What kind of vehicle am I using? Am I using gas? 400,000 Iraqis have been killed. I would probably say murdered by the U.S., right? So we go into the U.S. I love Noam Chomsky. He makes it clear, like, this is for oil. Let's cut through it. So 400,000 Iraqis are dead so I can drive a car. But so the exploitation is of the earth. It's of other things. It's in and through this systemic death. Okay. I'm wearing clothes from sweatshop labor. I've looked all over for clothes. I've been ordering them online. It's not working well. But what are the true costs of cotton, right? It's pesticides. It's huge amounts of water. The dyes and chemicals used to make this are polluting areas in India that are just toxic now. It's people working 10-hour days, can be 12-hour days, can be 6 days a week, can be 7 days a week when they get a rush order. These people are treated like slaves. There's no health benefits. They run on these toxic chemicals. What is the cost of this shirt? It's a lot. And in the past, I could sit there before the Amazon and say, well, I'm a pretty good guy. I'm doing work I like, and I treat my neighbors well, and I make a small donation in the environment. And I'm insane. And I still have that. Okay, so I won't go too much further into this. We get the point. But to touch on a couple more pieces. And again, I stay in my body. I'm going to check. Again, okay, I see the trees. I hear the sounds. My heart is totally shutting down. My body's shutting down. I'm leaving my feet and my pelvis and my breath. Okay. The point isn't just to like numb out and dissociate and give stats. Okay, so so the aquifers in the U.S., I don't know how to pronounce it, but the largest aquifer is projected to be 70% gone in 50 years. It's already, a lot of it's already done. They can't get water from it. The farmers are reporting it's way harder to get the water to water the different fields. And so again, so when it's 70% gone in 50 years, that's a lot. I mean, it's dead in places. It's not going in places. Already, they did, again, these extensive studies that there's extinction of species in the rivers. The aquifer is the underground water. And when you just suck that dry, it also does things to the rivers and other things around the area. Again, we experience the earth as a living being, right? And so we drain the aquifers, it drains the rivers. Different fish can't survive anymore, so those fish are going extinct. The ecosystem is way less healthy. It's more likely to have damage. We're talking about 286 kilometers of river. Say that in my body. 286 kilometers of river being gone as this huge aquifer is being drained. It's insane. With more extinction of species. Okay, so one of the points of this is it's going to dramatically impact food production and the environment. A fifth of the wheat in the world is grown in this area. So just one more, and then I'll move on. Stay in my body. Is that the topsoil is phenomenally important. We used to measure topsoil in feet. The U.S. had such a beautiful topsoil. Now it's just shrinking and shrinking, so it's measured in just smaller amounts. This guy wrote this book, Sir Albert something, brilliant, Soil and Health. And he talks about how when we deplete the topsoil, of course, the food is less nutritious, the plants are less nutritious, and the animals eating that are less nutritious. And he gives example after example where there's either some kind of rot or damage or fungus because of depleted topsoil. And so there's ways to do this, but normal agriculture, industrial agriculture, is horrible. Just trashes things, sucks it up. There's a guy, John Liu, who does incredible work at showing desertification around the world. And the Fertile Crescent, where life originated, used to be teeming with life, as it was called, the Fertile Crescent. Now I think a lot of it's just desert. And so the Mediterranean, just same thing. So humans have a history, some humans, just eradicating life with these farming practices, with big agriculture. We destroy the soil, we destroy this, everything starts to go. So what we see when we look at all of these things, the water, the topsoil, the extinction of species, climate crisis, briefly, we know, the Earth is this complex system, and the ice caps are melting. When the ice caps melt, the Earth can't regulate the temperature. These solar blasts come in, and the Earth can regulate its temperature. Without the ice caps, that's what I'm talking about, the tipping point. The Earth can't regulate its temperature. It gets a solar blast, it's scorching hot. Then all of a sudden it's freezing cold. And complex life exists with this system. We can't just eradicate it. We have no idea what will happen as these ecosystems collapse. None. With a human being, we can maybe remove a kidney, remove part of the liver. I don't know who we are, but remove part of the stomach, remove this, remove a hand, remove the eye. At some point, the person is going to die. So the Earth is in dire shape. And so what we see with all of this, when we bring the pieces together, with the topsoil gone, and Sir Edward would say, it's like stealing from the future generations. This topsoil is not ours to consume. These aquifers are not ours to take for this small window of time. These plastics, the oceans are not ours to destroy and gut. They're not mine. I use mine. They're not mine to destroy and gut. The topsoil isn't mine to destroy and gut. The oceans aren't. These species are not mine to destroy and gut. I'm sorry if I'm using we too much. This is my first step. I don't want to be projecting, so I apologize if I made it sound. It might not be you. You might have nothing to do with this, and I apologize if I've done that. I'm doing the best I can. So the topsoil is gone. The aquifers are gone. The species are extinct. All these other things are happening. There's climate crisis. There's hurricanes, tornadoes. It looks really bad. 9.5 billion people expected to be here in 50 years. So what we have is this enormous amount of people, and then the systems are collapsing. This is true at this point in time from the best case projections. So I've lived in developing countries a lot. In one area, I've been in many areas with a lot of poverty. And we can't say what's the chicken or the egg, what comes first, but in desperate situations, a lot of people do desperate things. So one area there was a ton of stealing and lying and crime, and it's just people in this survival way of being, and just like, and just whatever you can. You got this tree, you got this thing. It's not fun. And so I'm going to talk about my own rationalizations. And so, well, first, let's go into, so I can include it all. So how my brain works is, well, when these things collapse, and I'm making this conscious now, so before it was more unconscious, well, I'm from the U.S., somehow I'll ride it out. We're all doing the best we can. I guess that's how it is. I'll make do. No, that's not what it looks like. That's a rationalization. That's like the alcoholic saying, I knew this person who's alcoholic, actually a family member. It's like, oh, it's like James Dean, live fast, die young, and bury a pretty corpse. Like, ha, 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 Well, that's not how it ended. It ended by being old and having the body deteriorate, going into diabetic comas, having everybody in the family, after attempting everything they could to help, be like, I can't take the pain anymore, and dying alone. And they shot themselves in the head. So this is a little bit too intense. I don't know if I'm going in too deep. I'm not good at editing, I'm just doing the best I can. So my head mind, the disease, the rationalization, say, oh, I'll figure it out, I'll wing it. That's not what it looks like. It looks like the other thing I just described. And so, so in these desperate situations where everything's collapsing, I can't factor in enough how it would probably be like these third world conditions where some people, not all, and I know there's countries with very little where they're very kind and generous, and I've heard that. But in some places it's going to be, how do you get more? How do you acquire? There's the trauma response of fight, flight, or freeze. How do you attack? How do you hide? How do you shut down and numb out? I already meet young people, or a lot of people, where it's like, I'm just going to drink and smoke dope, and what are you going to do? The world's collapsing anyway. So we just, and as a species collapse, we just can't factor in how these things will work together. So I'm going to let myself breathe and not just have it be words. So it will be people trying to get food and water and survive if it makes it to that 50-year point with the 9.5 billion. Again, it's like a family that has, it's like a family that's been debting and spending. They have 25 grand a year. They have a child they can't afford, so they take out loans. So they're living off, say, 50 or 60,000 by taking in loans. They do this for a long time. They have $600,000 in debt. They have 7 kids. And then all of a sudden, they've got this debt. They lose their job. And they've got 7 kids, $600,000 in debt, and no job. The no job will be equivalent to oceans collapsed, topsoil gone, and aquifers gone, and 9.5 billion people. It's not a good scenario. So here are some more rationalizations. I really need to get back in my body. Okay, I just feel the energy coming back. I feel my breath deepening. I feel my feet and pelvis. Okay. So I was at a community that was started in the 1970s, and I do better when I look at the tree. Community that was started in the 1970s, and there's a lot of people there who are in their 70s and 80s. I was talking to this guy who's late 70s, really nice guy, really smart, really knowledgeable, environmentalist, and we start talking about this stuff. And he says to me, well, you know, we're both getting, it doesn't feel good to talk about it. And he says, well, we were talking about this in the 1970s and how we're going to feed all these people and how is this going to work. But, you know, we figured it out then. We'll figure it out again. No. 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 Not even close. That has nothing to do with anything. We learned agriculture, which destroys the topsoil. I was thinking of a more intense word. That destroys and depletes the topsoil. We learned how to trawlers, how to gut the ocean, including areas where the fish were able to propagate. By the way, also half of the coral is gone. It's been dead in the last 30 years. It's projected by the end of the century all the coral could be gone, which are the estuaries of life in the ocean, a lot of it. So we've learned how to do those things. But we have not fixed the problem. We're the family that's learned how to get more credit. Oh yeah, well we figured it out. We're having problems at 25,000 a year, but we learned how to do that. No, we didn't learn how to do it. It's way worse now. And so that's one rationalization. The other rationalization is, again, like, well, it's over there. It's another country, or it's like me going into the organic store and I can't quite get what I want, or it's a little more expensive. No, it's like the one I described, where people are doing desperate things and trying to get food and water and systems collapsing. And it's intense, man. It's super intense. So that's another rationalization. Another one is, well, they'll figure it out, They'll figure it out. They'll figure it out. Nobody's going to let it come to that. They'll figure it out. No. Again, with John D. Liu's research into how desertification and how so many societies have just destroyed the soil, destroyed everything and turned it into desert. I think it was Pitcairn Island, right, or one of those islands. It was a small tropical island where you could see everything, and one of the people there cut down the last remaining tree. They could see it was the last remaining tree, and they cut it down. No more trees on the island. So as human beings, and I want to be mindful of this, as some human beings, there's a history, and then there's also indigenous have a history of living in an area in harmony with it for years. But my worldview is the destruction right now. But so is a history of some human beings, maybe in more industrialized countries, destroying area after area, and now learning how to do that globally and more extensively and more deeply. It's not good. There's nowhere else to go to. There's nothing left to get for the most part. So that's most of it. That's most of my first step. The first step is we admitted we were powerless over engaging in global destruction, that our lives had become manageable. I am powerless over engaging in global destruction, and my life has become unmanageable. This is no different than if I stood to you, and I apologize to people who've lost people to alcoholism. I'm not saying this cavalierly. With the liver distended, out of my mind, just one more drink is going to solve this. I am powerless over this, and my life is unmanageable. Keep in mind, please, some people don't understand this. It's powerless, not helpless. It's so that it doesn't mean the alcoholic is condemned to drinking. It means that for a lot of people at a late-stage alcoholism, without help, they're condemned to late-stage drinking. With a higher power, whatever it is, to the group, to the community, to working with other people, from the heart, everything is possible. So the second step is came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And I'm hoping to get there. A day at a time, I'm working on that. And part of this work is doing that. That there's tons of solutions. There's tons and tons of solutions. It's filled with solutions. It's mostly solutions, honestly, except for this small contingent of death that says, I need to do this, and my friends are making this money, so I have to stay in the system. And one of the things is, like, I'll say, well, I can't stop gas, or I can't stop fracking. That's not true. What I mean is I don't want to. What it means is that if I stop this way of life, everybody else is going to have a lot of things, but I won't have a lot of things. And while I have this idea that, well, this is just how people live. You live in the standard, not standard, because a lot of people in the U.S. that don't, but a standard middle class, well, you live like this. And if I'm not, why would I not engage in that when that's how other people are? It's rationalization, and it's denial and rationalization. So some of solutions, I've been in a community where people were making our own clothes and we were growing our own food, and it feels good. It's fun. We're playing music, we're singing, we're dancing, we're working in the garden. feels good. It's living in integrity and harmony with the earth. Living in a place where I'm engaging in global destruction feels like the sword of Damocles hanging over my head. Even denial and rationalization, when I could stoke that up, it doesn't feel good. It sucks energy. For the person living in like the alcoholic, violent home, oh, it's okay, and we're doing the best they can, and whatever, that's just how it is. It's an energy suck. It's a death spiral. And so just to numb out, to check out, to try to acquire things and ride out the 6th largest extinction, it doesn't feel good. So being in integrity and harmony does feel good. I was on a small organic farm where we're making orange juice, we're pulling oranges, we're growing food. It feels good. It feels in integrity. I have no idea. I'm not speaking to everybody. I don't know what the solutions are going to be for this whole thing. But what I can do is I can not engage in global destruction a day at a time. I actually have a sewing machine a friend gave me. My voice tells me I'm not supposed to because I'm a guy. So I apologize if that's supposed to sound horrible. But I can make my own clothes. I'm like, what's it going to look like if I make my own clothes? So what's the alternative? People working as slaves, doing horrible things to the earth, or I can buy some eco-friendly fabric and make some shorts. So, I mean, and that might sound weird, but it doesn't sound weird from my perspective, where I see a way that's a death spiral, and I see a way of life that's joyful and celebratory. So, so there are solutions. And the steps have cleared the trauma and the trance, a lot of the trance. I've been calling it eco-death. I call it eco-death syndrome, but I've also been calling it eco-trauma. It's traumatizing to be part of a species that's destroying the planet to complex life. It's incredibly traumatizing. Whatever word you want to use, it's painful. So the steps work. It can clear stuff out. It brings awareness. One of the tools is I see full costs and I pay full costs. Enough of the rationalization, that's just how it is. I see full costs and I pay full costs. I focus on needs versus outdated strategies. Rather than saying, well, this is the strategy everybody's using. No, it's a death strategy for me, for today. What is a strategy that's meeting my true needs? Meaning, connection, play, love, reciprocity. To be so grateful for being on this earth in these huge trees in this web of life. To be so grateful to be part of it that I'm doing what I can to honor that. And it's celebratory. It's joyful. So these are the true needs. The needs aren't to have this or to have that or to look this way. So I'm really grateful I could share this. I'm grateful for the dietas with the plants in the Amazon and everything that's flowed through for the clarity. And yeah, I came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. It's possible. It's possible. It's probable. It's my birthright. It's my birthright. It's my birthright to live as a child of the jungle free. So, much love and joy to you all, and I wish you health and healing on your journey. Namaste.